Hey friends, Adasa Damien here from Ride Free Fearless Money, and today I want to talk to you about how you can get a handle on your finances now that prices have been going up for almost a year. So last week's inflation report was a little intense. We learned that over the last month alone, prices have gone up 1%, which might not sound like a lot until you understand that that means 12% over the next year if it keeps up like that, which is unlikely. And a lot of my clients are saying to me that they're surprised by their spending these days. And I was surprised when my partner and I did our most recent monthly finances check-in. And the truth is, it is pricier right now, especially for food, energy, and transportation. So like basics, not extras, than it was a year ago. And it's pricier than it was even a couple months ago. So look, if you haven't looked in detail at your spending in the last couple months, you, my friend, are due for a check-in. So I'm going to tell you what you can do. I'm going to tell you what I did, all about a method that you can use to start to get a handle on your money during inflation. I'm not going to give you any dumb savings tips. I want you to start with strategy, my friend, and then you can decide if and where you want to cut your spend or your savings or figure out how to bring in more money. Strategic decisions, not panicked ones. So let me tell you about the framework. It is called doing a net position. It's something I always invite people who come to do coaching with me or into my workshops to do. It's just simply to snapshot what you have in all of your different accounts, what you owe across anyone you owe money to, and what you're spending in a given month as of today. So it's just a little data gathering exercise. And there's a bunch of reasons I have people do it. One of it is that often our financial realities are set in the past. And when things aren't changing much, that's fine. If you're making the same money you used to make, if you're spending the same money you used to spend, your mortgage or your rent hasn't gone up, no big deal. But in times of change, whether its costs are going up like right now, or your income has gone up or down, you have to resync your plan to today's reality. So last month, one thing that I did was that my partner and I went through our expected costs, like our shared spending plan, and we increased some of them to match what we'd actually been spending the last couple of months, in particular on food, so that our budgeted spending better match the reality of what's actually happening. But of course, the budgeting is something that you do to give yourself a plan to follow in reality, right? And so just because I increased this budget line, where does the money come from? It's not magically coming out of nowhere. So after we updated our shared cost plan based on how much things are costing these days, I needed to know what else in my overall personal spending plan I could adjust. And so to make that decision in an informed, intentional way, I had to understand how that would impact my overall finances, my goals, things I'm saving money for, things like that. So this is one of the first reasons a net position snapshot is helpful, so that I could look at my income, which has stayed about the same, even though prices are going up, in order to make a decision about which savings goal could either take a pause or get changed. It was really helpful for me to have that net position snapshot, what's in my savings, so I could be reminded, what am I trying to do with my money? What's my plan in the first place? Looking at those accounts, it was really helpful because it let me understand where my finances are in relation to my needs. So like, how's my emergency backup money? What short-term goals am I working on? Have I funded these? Like there's some home improvements I'm trying to do. I've got some long-term plans, and retirement. I want to put money towards that. Side note, right? Even though inflation is happening, stock market is super volatile right now. Investing is for money that you don't need in the short term, right? So kind of side note on there. If you do a net position and you look at your investments like for retirement, you'll see that they probably have less money in them than you thought because the market has been going down the last couple months. Just giving you that fair warning. Okay. So I got that information and I decided to pause one of my automated savings, as well as like just decrease a little bit of my personal spending so I could put a little more spending into my shared budget for my household. But then instead of being like, where's the money going to come from? I had a plan. I'm not going to be surprised. My one thing that I'm saving for, I got some money in there. And I can actually pause on that. And what was nice is that I don't feel squeezed. I feel in control. Like I know what is going on. And so when I'm talking to you all about strategy and making informed decisions, so much of that is just about getting information, and being able to just understand, make sense of it, and make decisions about it. I mean, when I started working with people on their money 7 years ago, there's more than just numbers in the mix here. It's not just get the numbers. Especially for those of us who've experienced money being tight, but also, I mean, for everybody. But for those of us who've ever experienced not having enough money, your focus is pretty regularly on just making your monthly bills, making it work. And so being able to do in that position can kind of help you reassess what, if anything, you might do just to make sure all the monthly bills work. But you might not know that you can actually do this stepping back and looking at your bigger financial picture. Because you might be like, yeah, what's there to look at? But later, if your income increases and you have more decisions you can make with your finances, it is super useful to go in and just say, like, big picture, not just on the monthly, what is happening? Because once your data for your spending is laid out in front of you, it starts to trigger curiosity and questions. It might also trigger some other feelings. That's okay. You don't have to like numbers for them to be helpful for you, because they are going to get you to say, what's going on here? The purpose of the exercise is the illumination. It's digging around, it's finding the old accounts, and it's leading yourself down the path of asking questions and engaging with your finances actively, as opposed to avoiding it and just kind of being like, it'll work out. I mean, it might, but it might not. Wouldn't you like to know? I want you to know. I want to know for myself, right? So this curiosity about what's happening, and is my money, what's it doing? Do I owe more or less on this one card? Like, do I have the savings I need for this one goal? Can I put in more in savings or less in savings? These are all questions that should lead to decisions, right? And these decisions should relate to your current goals and needs, whatever those are, right? This curiosity connects. So, you might find yourself asking some questions like, my credit card debt is more or less than it was before. I wonder if I could pay it off faster. Or, like for me, I had actually realized I had put enough in savings for one of my savings goals. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's where the money's going to come for me to increase some of my food spending. And I also made a decision to put more money towards mutual aid and donations right now, because I think I can do some good with that. And I realized I had it available, right? So looking at what's happening should lead you to ask questions, which leads you to make decisions with your finances, friends. And then ultimately later, it's a good idea to go back and see how those decisions actually played out. For myself, I hold myself accountable to donate by keeping just a track every month of what moves. You can go back and see about your decisions there. Say in the example of trying to pay off credit card debt, or save for a goal, going back every 4, 6, 8 months just to see how your progress is moving is super helpful, because then you can see if your decision is moving the needle the way you're trying to move it. And I like to connect things across all the different things I do. So I'm a design thinking facilitator, and honestly, I think design thinking applies beautifully to how we transform approaches to money, to this whole net position process, because you have to go in and say, okay, I have a goal. Maybe spending feels tight because everything's more expensive. And I want to figure out what to do. Okay, great. You go in, you get the data, what's in all my accounts, what have I spent just in every type of spending in the last month. Make sense of it, get some understanding, come up with some ideas. What are you going to change? Make some decisions, go execute on them, and then evaluate, see how it worked. So I just kind of find that fascinating, right? It's not just get information. It's not just start doing stuff at random. It's understand based on the information, make some decisions, and then see how it worked. So you can do all of this. You can sit down and just do one of these self-audits today. It'll take you 45 minutes to an hour and a half, probably, depending on how easy it is for you to log into your accounts and kind of all the different places where your money moves. But if you sit yourself down, you can look up what's in all your accounts. You can write it down. You can draw it out. You can like bust out some little Post-its, whatever works for you. You're going to ask yourself, is this what I thought it would be? Like, just after you've gotten the information, question number 1. Is that what I thought? Next, is there anything you want to change based on what you think, based on what you're trying to accomplish? And then you're going to ask yourself, okay, how? What would I do? Might be a change in your spending. It might be a change in your earning. It might be a change in your savings. Speaking of costs going up, if you haven't tried to figure out how to increase your prices if you work for yourself, or advocate for a raise if you work for somebody else, that's definitely going to contribute to you feeling tight. So I'm also teaching about this method a couple times in the next month. So if you want to dive in with some support to activating on using a net position, on June 17th, I'm joining something called Money Club, where we're just going to do some exercises around net position statements. We're going to ask some questions about them. I also teach this method every time that I teach Money Like You Mean To, which is my 1-week workshop that I run once a quarter. And I have people come in having done net position statements. There's also chances throughout the workshop to continue working on it or to engage with asking questions and making decisions about it. So I cannot pitch it hard enough. Getting active, using the most current information that you can to make your money decisions. It's how you're going to turn some of these problems into possibilities, because they're not going to be like giant question marks with scary no numbers behind them, right? It's going to be information that you've decided about. Because it's not just about the numbers, right? You're not only in there for the numbers. You're in there for the strategy, for the information, and for you to be actively in charge of what you're going to do. So inflation is real. It could end tomorrow and you still are going to need to go in and say, all right, well, shit's still more expensive than it was 6 months ago, 12 months ago. How do I want to get ahead of this change? I believe in you. You can do it. I can help if you like. But that is the humble net position and how I think it is extremely useful, like baseline thing that you can do given that financial realities have changed for just about everybody in the last year or so. So take care of you, sit down with a little calculator, and let me know how it goes.